bit of a nut when it comes to America. Like,
Uh-huh.
so the music culture, obviously, everything we listen to now all started with blues, you know, at the turn of the century. You know, the Edison with the record player, all of
Yeah.
that is all American. So, like, I'm like a big nut on Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, Robert
Oh,
Johnson. Like for me, like sitting down and listening to like Billie Holiday sing like what mother's father-in-law, you know, that real big band jaunty ragtime, like
yeah.
and obviously I'm in like recovery from drugs and alcohol as well. I have been for like a year now, and I've got a pass with that. So
Yeah.
obviously all that came from America. You know, the ragtime jazz scene, you know, prohibition, all of just the whole like American experience is literally. I
Yeah.
kind of feel like I should. I always felt like I should have been around in like those times in like the 20s. And
Is there anything better than a trip getting ready?
Nope.
For a long journey where our podcast released a new epi, searching for a fade fiending, new fixation. Giving this a subscribe is the same sensation. Started with the day ones, they gave us fuel to support the season. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here for a reason. Notification bells, tap some friends, all to let you know. Check your Bluetooth, connect, talking with Donato.
Welcome in, everyone. Welcome back to Talking with Donato. We're going to tap into some real stories behind the grind, the culture, and the craft. Today, we're heading across the pond to connect with a Bristol-born DJ and musician who's been active in the UK scene since 1998. From hip-hop to punk, rock, techno to jungle, Ali has lived through multiple eras of music culture, not just as a performer, but as a community builder. He's a joint founder of Scratch Cafe and Scratch Jam, co-founder of Unstoppable Battle, and part of the UK label Runtings. All platforms that push creativity, turntablism, and independent artistry forward. This episode isn't just about DJing, it's about longevity, evolution, and what it really takes to stay relevant in a scene that never stops changing. So whether you're a music head, a creative, or somebody building something from the ground up, this conversation is for you. So let's get into it. Ali, thanks for coming on today.
mate, when you dropped me the message, I was like, yeah, this guy, I like this guy's vibe, and I was like really excited for it. Before we go in, I want to say that was smooth, Donato.
Oh,
That was
hey,
smooth. I like that, mate. I like
thanks,
that.
man.
Very good.
I'm telling you, I was a little worried because, Ali, I'm really excited about this episode because, man, you seem like you've got so many layers. You know, you're like, if you weren't in Bristol,
Yeah.
I'd be stalking you right now, always sending you a text message like, "Hey, Ali, we hanging out tonight? Hey, Ali, we hanging out tonight?" I'd be like, "Yo, I want to hang out with this guy." Like,
We might be able to make it happen, man. Anything's possible in this world if you just think about it and you just set your mind to it. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. So yeah, we get some cats coming over from the US, and maybe this may bring me over to the US as well. So yeah, fingers crossed.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm in New York, and so you could do worse than a free tour guide.
Well, yeah.
Take you around the New York City. And I will say this too. I've lived all over America. I'd love to offer you just whatever places you were going to go. You know, like Miami, even over towards Seattle, if you ever wanted to get out to our West Coast. I'm telling you, when you come over, I'd like to see if I can offer you some things that maybe you had never thought of.
Well, you know, so I'm a bit of a nut when it comes to America. Like, so the music culture, obviously, everything we listen to now all started with blues. You know, at the turn of the century. You know, the Edison with the record player, all of that is all American. So, like, I'm like a big nut on Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, Robert Johnson. Like for me, like sitting down and listening to like Billie Holiday sing like what mother's father-in-law, you know, that real big band jaunty ragtime, like that, and obviously I'm in like recovery from drugs and alcohol as well. I have been for like a year now, and I've got a pass with that. So obviously all that came from America. the ragtime jazz scene, prohibition, all of just the whole like American experience is literally. I kind of feel like I always felt like I should have been around in like those times in like the 20s and early blues times. You know what I mean? Like I listened to like R.L. Burnside and those Delta blues cats. So like like America's got a big thing for me, and like the UK have got a really, really weird thing with taking American music and spinning it and giving it back to them. So like I kind of like everything I listen to, every music, like I'm a bass player, so funk, jazz, like I play guitar, so the blues, like it's all America. So I've got a really big affinity with America, apart from your junk food culture. Apart from that, like America is just it's an exciting place, and I've never had the chance to go. So I'm kind of getting into a position in my life now where I kind of need to go, Donato. So
it sounds like I'm telling you, Ollie, this is so exciting. I used to do a radio show over in Austin, Texas. You probably hear that, outside of maybe Nashville. I'm telling you, they call themselves the live music capital, the outdoor concert capital of America. I hope they don't say the world, because sometimes when we are in a place, we think our surroundings are the best. But I think you've heard of it. One of my good buddies I did a radio show with, he's a jazz aficionado. And I'm gonna tell you, all I can do is ask, but I'm gonna send you a couple invites. I would love to just riff with you, me, him. There's a couple other people I'd like to come on and just come back and talk music, man, because you just took me down a path.
I'd love to see. So I've recently just picked up the guitar again. Like I started playing when I was a kid, and then DJing took over, bass guitar, drums, and everything. And I just picked up my guitar, and I started seeing these guys playing the sort of new jazz, like diminished stuff. So like the last 6 months, I've just been exploring all of that, like real clever diminished jazz chords. Yeah. And obviously, like it's not too much in funk, it's not too much in pop, but like the country guys and the jazz guys do it and the blues guys do it. So like everything you're saying to me is like music in my ears, because obviously I've never connected with the guys that have played it. Obviously I know a lot of old blues musicians, like UK guys, but there's nothing like speaking to the source. So you give me that info, man. I'll be there in a second. And
oh man, okay, I'm gonna look into that one. So I hear what you're saying, and then I look at what you do when you're playing. I've looked at your clips with my family, and my oldest daughter, she's only 8 years old, Ollie.
Yes.
And we're checking out some of your stuff, and she's all of a sudden stopping her little vibe, and she kind of like looks at me out of my peripheral vision. I could see, and she's like, "You got to get this guy on the podcast." And I was like, oh, "That's a great idea."
Well, really?
So I reached out to you, and here we are. It's so cool. But you've got fans, and I'm telling you, my kids, more importantly, my oldest, she's probably going to be one of your biggest fans.
Can you tell me her name on the podcast?
Yeah, her name is Ludmila.
Ludmila, thank you so much for getting me on this. Like, really, thank you so much, and hopefully I'll get to talk to you at some point with if me and your dad's relationship blossoms.
God, her head's gonna explode. Thanks so for that, cool. Ollie. So I'm gonna clip that one too. I'll put that on her phone so she can watch that a couple times, because she's gonna she's gonna lose her mind there. Hey, Ollie, I want to go back. One of the things I mentioned in the intro was that 1998 is what I mentioned there. Yeah. Your early journey and your origins, like, what first pulled you into DJing back in 1998?
Oh, no, it started way before that. So 1998 was when I first started like working the scene. But DJing for me started about 1993. So I'll take you back. So my dad's a quite a well-known bass player. Like, he did his bits in the 60s and 70s. He toured America. He did all that stuff. Took the Police on tour with one of his PA companies. So I'm a second generation like music person. Yeah. And sort of growing up, we'd be listening to the Police, Dire Straits, Kraftwerk, Thompson Twins. So there was that. His sort of musical taste was really eclectic, and it was all sub bass driven. right? So
Yeah.
when I was a kid, I was hearing this, and I lived in a pub as well, so we had a lot of the sound system reggae guys in the 80s. So my exposure to sort of sound system and early hip hop, obviously through craft work, because obviously there's no hip hop without craft work. There's no anything without craft work anyway. So I was like, my ears were like pinging to stuff like that anyway, and I got into punk, like any sort of aggression, any sort of like angry music, or any sort of rhythm driven music. It was just ding 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 ding, and then hearing my dad play the bass, it was just all so.
Yeah.
And then in about 1992, I came across a rave tape. So the UK rave scene kind of like came from like American house and American hip hop, speeded up hip hop breaks.
Yeah.
And I heard this old school set from 1992 from a guy called DJ Psy. And I had no concept of what DJing was. I thought there was a big band up there with an orchestra, piano players, drummers. Because, you know, all the breaks were real drums, but they were sampled. So in my brain, I was like, well, how am I going to do this? I need like a whole orchestra. And then I found out it was a guy spinning records. I was like, no way. So then, like, in about my first paper round, I was like, right, I'm saving up. So I saved every bit of money for my first paper round for my first set of turntables. And then I was like, bang, into sort of rave and dance music. So DJing for me kind of started back then by mistake. Because obviously 1992, there was no Wi-Fi, there was no broadband route. You know, there was none of that. It was like whatever your mind thought it was, that's what it was. And you get the stuff and nobody's around doing it. You're like a 13-year-old kid. You're the only one that's doing it. So you just make it up as you're going along. So, you know, like anything music-wise, it was just right. I need to do this. I don't know how to do it. Nobody's telling me. I'll just make it up. You know, me and my brother used to have a DJ mixer, and we'd have 2 tape players, and we'd remove the overdub head from the tape players. So we'd be multi-tracking on a tape as a studio in like 92, 93 as like 12-year-old kids. Because obviously I used to fuck around with shit all the time. Excuse my language. I'm so sorry. But we used to mess around with stuff all the time. And we realized that if you remove the overdub head from the tape, when you record, it wouldn't overwrite it. So you'd have a really crude tape recording system. So you could put a beat down, and then you could get a bass guitar and you could play the bass over it. And as long as you got sort of learned it and got the levels right, you were then multi-track recording. So so my sort of journey into this sort of recording and DJing electronic music was kind of really just like, oh, it must be like this, I'll do this. And then you obviously get a little bit older and you move into people, bump into other people that know. And then obviously in 1998, it was my first actual gig as a DJ. And that's kind of when you sort of like, you sort of meet the real guys and really start learning. So, yeah.
What did the UK scene feel like at that time when you got out there for that first gig? I was living I was living in Korea at the time, so I wasn't even in America. Yeah, it was cool, bro. Oh my God, it was amazing. But what was the UK scene like? What did it feel like at that time?
So the UK scene was even being in it was really strange. So it was rave culture. It was really drugs. It was a lot of drugs. Unlike, you know, I wasn't really. I'd listened to a lot of Snoop. I'd listened to loads of hip hop back then. Onyx, you know, in 1992. You know, when he tried to come over, he got banned from the country. You know, all of that stuff. You know, so I was aware of hip hop, but there wasn't really a scene per se in the 90s because everybody had gone to rave. And we discussed this with a lot of the originators on the Scratch Calf podcast. You can check that out if you want. Shameless. But yeah, the kind of hip hop scene was kind of really fragmented and sort of there wasn't really a scene per se unless you were my age. So the rave scene was practically just about music with no breaks, taking up the sort of upper drugs and dancing all night long. That was what the rave scene was. I think probably from my knowledge, it was probably quite close to the house scene and those sorts of scene in America, but it was much faster, it was much more aggressive, and it was the English sort of drinking mentality of everybody going there to get as wasted as possible. So really, it wasn't really a music scene, and kind of live music isn't really a music scene. It's more I'm gonna have music to sort of go with my drinking or whatever
Yes.
else I'm up to. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, like people seem to get really caught up on scene, but I feel they're getting confused because it's so separated from music. Because the worst place to listen to music is in a really big venue with loads of people and really big speakers. So
Yes.
yeah, it was kind of like, as much as I love where I came from, and as much as I love the scene and what it's done for me,
Yeah.
if we're talking about music, it's not really music. It's about going there to get wasted, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, you just summed it up, and that's my college experience. Man, you just put it all together. You mentioned so much, and I like all the different things that you've mentioned so far. So I'm gonna try to see if I can get you with something hard here.
Go on, then.
Do you remember the first record that made you think this is what I want to do?
Oh, okay. So there wasn't, for me, it wasn't a record, it was a thing.
Oh, what was that thing?
There was, for me, like when I growing up, I always felt like I was like trapped. I never felt comfortable. I never felt like I was at ease.
Yeah.
And there were certain records that were so overtly aggressive and had so much feeling that those were the ones I gravitated towards. And it's probably why I went on to rave and techno and hardcore techno, because it was so aggressive. When I went to play, it was like, I'd get rid of my demons every weekend. I'd go off and I'd play and be like, and all of my demons, all of my stresses would leave. And I can remember sort of Das Robotier by Kraftwerk, like We're the Robots. And it was just just that overt aggressiveness in that line. So it was those records, there's a Thompson Twins, Love on Your Side, with that 303 opening at the beginning. It's just that groove, that groove, just like really awkward and putting yourself up. I kind of stuff like that was like, I feel like that. And then and then the badly looped early rave records. So that there's one anti-acapella V321, and it's like a sort of a housey sort of thing, but it's the loops are off and it's awkward and it's weird and it's like fairly uncomfortable to listen to. It's a little bit out of tune in places. So it was less a tune that gave me that, and it was more, these people are making stuff that I feel like.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I like that. Some of us have never been to Bristol. There are people here, there, and everywhere that are going to tune into this, and they've never been. Yeah. So can you tell us a little about specifically, since that is where you're from, how did growing up in Bristol shape your sound and musical identity? Like, are you guys known for anyone we would know about?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I'll give you a little story about Bristol before I go into that. And that'll give you the mindset and the mentality of sort of the Bristolian people. So my friend, he went over to America, and he was going over there thinking all the American girls would think he was all suave and posh and everything. Right. And it was about the time when Pirates of the Caribbean came out.
Oh, yeah. Right? Okay.
And they were like, oh, you sound like a pirate. And he was absolutely devastated. But the reason he sounded like a pirate is because Blackbeard, Robert Teach were all Bristolians. So all of those the army captains, like, here, mate, that's a Bristolian accent. That's a West Country Bristolian accent.
No.
So we are a bunch of pirates, basically. We're a bunch of pirates.
Oh my God.
So Bristol, obviously, it's on the port. It was a big city. It was a main port in the UK, and it's quite horrific here, and it can be quite horrific here. But our mentality is that pirate mentality, and Bristol's really well known for its blues. One of the guys my dad worked with, Steve Payne, he did a thing called Bristol to Bristol. And it was a couple of blues guys. There's a Bristol in America, and there's obviously Bristol here. So he drove over from Bristol to Bristol to go and play some brews with an American guy in Bristol. So, you know, we're this port town, a lot of the old blues guys, all of the records that used to get imported from the States, they'd get them first.
Yeah.
You know, so Bristol's it's really well known for its music. And when in the UK, sort of London sort of industry, that's the place you go. Manchester, it's got its things. But, you know, Bristol's a real special place musically. You know, we can be credited with sort of the drum and bass sound, you know, so a couple of the very big drum and bass guys, at least the guys that shaped the sound originally are from Bristol. So there's a song called Wishing on a Star by Fresh 4.
Yeah.
I'm wishing on a star.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's Fresh 4. So that's a guy called Flynn. He's a good friend of mine, actually. And a guy called Crust and Suv. They were Fresh 4. And they without them with drum and bass, there is no drum and bass really. So we shaped that scene. But also we've got Massive Attack, which you've probably heard. Massive Attack are a Bristolian band.
Wow.
We've got Porter's Head, which again they did Teardrop. No, Teardrop was Massive Attack, sorry. So we've got this strange twist where sound system culture met hip hop, and then the Bristolians changed that because we've got a really strong Jamaican community in Bristol as well. Oh. So there's that massive amalgamation of music. So yeah, Bristol's got a sort of Bristol's a very, we change things, and obviously Massive Attack, they took hip hop and they don't like it being called trip hop, but they made trip hop. The Fresh 4 Wishing on a Star, that was sort of hip hop based, and then obviously Fresh 4's Break was sampled by Goldie on his Timeless album. Not the Timeless album, sorry, on the big drum and bass tune Terminator. So you know, so there's just all of these strange things. So Bristol really is an amalgamation, and it's just a music city basically. We do what we want, and when we do it, we kind of do it well. And there's a really good undertone. There's always live music going on. There's a massive music culture, and yeah, this is a really, really blessed place to be, man.
Yo, Ollie, you just messed up, bro. You just messed up. That was an amazing introduction to Bristol. Bro, you're about to get invaded. I hope this whole thing goes viral and everyone can come back in Bristol and blame you because
that's
we're
right.
coming.
Yeah, it's fine. Hey,
that's so exciting.
I can't stand people. I'm only ever in my house. You'll never see me.
So you don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. I've got other people that deal with that.
Man, that's so cool, man. And you know, I lived in Europe and I one of my regrets, I never made it to the UK. I was enjoying other places that I was at. You can't get to them all, but man, yeah, you got me excited now though.
Yeah.
I love music, man. And okay, all right, I'm gonna geek out on that later, and I think we're all gonna get our little Google fingers going.
Yeah, good.
We got to get more Bristol now. I mean, you brought some stuff up. Now I gotta go back. I'm gonna introduce some, and my wife never watches my podcast anyway. I'm gonna be like, hey babes, I got some new stuff. Let me introduce this to you. She's like, oh my God, you're so amazing. So thanks, Ollie.
Yeah, no problem at all.
What were the early struggles that almost made you quit? No one has the perfect origin story and beginning, right?
There's no quit for me, man. So the moment I heard music, it's the only thing that soothed my soul. That's it.
Really?
Only the mute there. Yeah. The moment I heard about it, the moment I heard music, I was obsessed. The moment I got a guitar, I was obsessed. The moment I realized that I could focus any pain or torment I was in and I could turn it into a creative process. Because I wasn't able, you know, as a kid, you're not able to express yourself verbally. You're not able to go, Mum, you know, I'm feeling really down because, you know, the teacher at school made me feel stupid and I felt shame. You don't have that dialogue. All I had was a guitar and drums and music to listen to. So I've never searched music as a career. I've earned money from it. And I've been in music and I work in music now, but you know, it's never been a career for me. It's just, I wake up and I do it. And I express myself and I channel all of my pain and torment through music, especially in my early years, man. I had quite a hard upbringing. I got addicted to very hard drugs. You know, I was addicted to heroin from 20 to 32. I'm 43 now, you know, so I'm 10 years away from that. But, you know, I lost my mother at 20. And, you know, kind of really, my dad was a musician and he was off doing his thing, and he suffered with an addictive personality as well. So he wasn't really able to be that dad. But, you know, from 20, it was just me, heroin and my guitar and my decks, basically. So, you know, there was no quit. There was like, am I going to wake up in the morning? There was like, oh, fuck, I've woken up in the morning. How am I going to get through the day? And the only way I got through the day was picking up a guitar and doing music. That was it. So there was no quit. There was no, the concept of quit. I wasn't chasing fame. I wasn't chasing money. I wasn't chasing a career. I was just getting up every day and going, I'm in emotional agony. Yeah. Where's the stuff that I can expel that with, that isn't drugs? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. So when I look at your material, I see confidence, right? So because I want to dig on this a little bit more. So I see confidence, right? And so now that I asked that question, it makes me ask, so where did your confidence come from? You know, when we go back to that first DJ event in '98, if you're looking out the crowd and, man, they're not feeling it like I'm feeling it, some people, their confidence drops, and if it doesn't turn out, one or two shows, they start slow or something like that, maybe they quit. We know that you don't quit. So where does your confidence come from when you're giving your art, when you're DJing, when you're offering to others?
I suffered with like crippling low confidence, and I suffered with like really crippling self-doubt. And the only thing I could do was music. So when I was turning up to that gig, I went through that set probably like 40, 50, 60 times, because if I wasn't turning up there, my first gig, I went there and I was like, if the person that was on before me isn't scared to go after me the next time they see me play, and if the person that's not following me isn't shitting a brick that they have to follow what I just did, I'm not doing it right. So I went there to murder. I literally went there I didn't care about the crowd. I didn't care about what they were thinking. I didn't care if one person was there. All I knew that I had to do was go there and be technically as good as I can, give as big of a show as I can, and get rid of the demons. And that it just worked for me. It's like the video you talk about. This, like, I get a lot of trolls and it's fun, but they're like, oh, you're moving too much. Oh, why did DJ have to move too much? It's like, mate, you're not the same person as we. If you don't understand what's happening there, you can talk to me and I'll explain it to you, but I don't think you're ever going to understand. But those videos I post, man, that's me. That's me exercising the demons, man.
Yes.
I'll hear a tune and I'll find it and I'll put it on the decks and I'll play it and I'll set up the video camera and I'll just do it. That is lit. That is those videos are what that record does to me. And my history with music is music soothes my soul, man. And like those videos, when I'm like, the last video I posted, I didn't plug the iRig in, and you could hear me going in there, and like Erica Badu shared it. It's gone mental. But on that one, like you know, you can hear me going and I'm just posting it anyway. But that's what's happening without the iRig, and it's like it's just and. I did it and I posted it and I'm all about being me, and I'm all about not caring what anybody thinks. Yep. And so the basis of confidence is like, there isn't really it. I was going to kill and I was going to exercise demons. I didn't care about the crowd. I wasn't playing records for the crowd. I was playing the records that I vibed in, and I was playing the records that would give me the best chance of getting rid of all of my evilness, ready for the next week, ready for the next gig. And then when I was getting that ready, I was like, right, the person who's following me has got to be shit scared. And now I've done that gig. If they're following me before, I'm going to come in twice as hard.
Yeah. I don't know if you know it. I don't know if anyone's ever told you. You may not even want to do it. I already can tell I'm going to have such a hard time figuring out what clips of this episode I'm going to put out, but so I'm going to beg people to just watch the whole damn thing because I think I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to say, hey, check this clip out, but you got to catch the whole episode. But what you just said there, so many people need to hear that it's your groove. And there's always going to be trolls. There's always going to be haters. But what are you in it for? And then, oh, by the way, I tell people all the time, I do a little public speaking here in America, my day job and stuff. But I would always tell people, you know, when you go into a job interview, when you're speaking about your life, why would you at any point be nervous? You're just talking about yourself. You're just being you. And you're the best in the world at being you. So exactly. You just took me there, and I think next time I got a high school coming up, I think I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say, you know, a very wise man from Bristol told me, it takes me back to a conversation I had with him, and because that's what it's about. Exactly what you said.
That's it. Then, I mean, look, you've got people can pick holes in what I've just said because, you know, sometimes when you're paid as a DJ, especially if you're paid as a party DJ or a wedding DJ, that situation doesn't exist, which is why I'm not a party DJ or a wedding DJ. You know, you have if you're paid to you don't want to pay me to do a wedding because I'll turn up and do what the hell I want. And I don't care if Deirdre, you know, and your nan and your granddad like it. I'm there. I'm there doing me, and you pay me for me. So, you know, in the real world, that doesn't necessarily work, and especially if you're attempting to get an income from it. But I wasn't. I was just there for me. And luckily enough, like, people buy into me because I just get up and I'm honest and I don't care. I don't care what people think. I just go and do it. And I think people like that because in this world we're fed a lot of lies. Social media, like the politicians, it's just the world is full of lies. And when you get somebody that's just being truthfully honest, will talk about anything you ask them and will tell them all of the rubbish things about them, but equally tell them all the good things about it. And then people just buy into it. And I think that's why my videos have been doing so well, because I'm just being me. And you can tell the trolls in there they're the ones that struggle with like being honest. They're the ones that struggle with being them, and they're the ones that don't know themselves because they struggle with honesty, and they're the ones that can't stand me doing that. And I've just started giving them marks on their trolling now. I've got a scale of 0 to 7 on wit and laziness, basically.
That's
so
good.
I just score them now.
Yeah, I don't even know. I'm gonna talk to the trolls now. Yo, trolls, I don't even know how you can do what you can do. If a song is killing you, how can you stay still? Why wouldn't you try to break your neck? I've done a lot of thought about this because I get trolled quite a lot because it's just the way I am, and so I know why this is, right? So there's a group of people in this world that are living the worst life ever. They're not their own boss. They're not happy in what they're doing. They didn't pick the right partner. They're staying with that partner for this reason. They can't earn enough money. They can't do this and that. And they live in a really horrible place. And the only way they can hit out at it is by trolling people. And I'm blessed that I have this obsession with music and it connected with me, because without that I'd probably be that. Because how would I get rid of all of that anger and that rage and that fear if I didn't have that? I'd probably be trolling people. So I kind of really feel for them. Sometimes I'm like, okay, you've said something really stupid. You know, I'm like kind of I'm a herd kind of guy. You know, if somebody you hit people into line when they need it, and if you say something really stupid and dumb, you'll be exposed for it. Learn from it. Maybe it'll get you better. But yeah, I think a lot of them are just live really, really unfulfilling, sad lives, and seeing somebody else happy, it just really, really, really devastates them, and then they have to put a silly comment on. So it's just. I really feel sad for them. I'd love to meet one of them. I'd love to actually talk to one. Yeah, you know, sometimes they don't have that self-analysis. You might have just helped them just now to realize, yeah, man. Now I realize why I'm always hating. Why I always gotta be so negative.
No, they'll troll me on that. It's too honest. They won't like it. They won't be able to deal with it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You ain't no psychiatrist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who are you?
Get out of my head. Now I know there's been some evolution though. How has your mindset changed from when you started to now?
So I'm fine at the age of 43. I'm finally in a stage of my life where I'm free from substances. I'm free from mind altering drugs. I had 4 strokes in 2023. So no, 2024. So so I've been recovering from a stroke as well. So I've had to drastically change my diet. I've had to work out. I don't eat any meat, any dairy. I like to hydrate. I eat fruit and whole foods. I'm exercising. I'm sort of doing sort of cold water, like freezing water therapies. So I'm
Yeah.
finally at that stage in my life where for the first time in 43 years, I actually feel happy to be me.
Ah.
And I've been getting involved with hip hop. I got back on the turntables, about 4 or 5 years ago. I sort of started doing the sort of hip hop style, like beat juggling and scratching a little bit more instead of the slow mixing. And then we started the scratch calf. Me and my partner Dan, who Mr. Big Mouth, absolute badass DJ, came second in the UK DMCs. I think he's going to win the UKs this year.
Wow.
So we started doing that together, and then the scratch calf happened. We've been doing the scratch calf podcast. And just been like connecting with all like the OG like turntablists in the UK. We had Vecton, which was crazy. He's like one of the most decorated turntablists in the world. He's got one of the arguably the baddest guy on a set of turntables in the world. So we were blessed enough to spend a couple of hours with him. And I've just finally hit that point in my life where I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy with who I am. I'm not addicted to anything. I'm addicted to music. I'm addicted to my guitars. I've got a relationship with God. I've got meditation. I've got I'm connected to the universe. So it's not kind of what's changed. It's kind of like I've become the person I could have been with the right guidance a long time ago.
Yeah.
So, and it's like funk's always been there, but it's just at the moment for me, funk and soul and jazz and sort of neo-funk guitar is kind of where I am at the moment. So that's what's being posted. In about a year's time, I could be playing like grindcore metal. Anything could happen. But it's just there's no real change. It's just I'm just existing, and this is what my world looks like at the moment, and this is just what's happening in my world at the moment. So there hasn't really been any change, and I think maybe you're struggling a little bit because you're questioning me as somebody that's career driven, but I'm ADHD, man. I chase dopamine. Right, and so you have like there's no rhyme or reason apart from the little things I put in place to make my life a little bit easier. But I'm just chasing dopamine. I'm chasing what turns me on at that point, and I'm diving deep into it until the dopamine's run out on that song, and I'm on to the next one. Basically,
yo, I love it, man. I'm telling you, we all see that. Like we see that in your music. You bring us happiness, though, Ali. Like when we look at your clips, like I'm happy, like I'm feeling the vibe, and I'm saying to myself, man, I'm bobbing my head harder than Ali is right now. He needs to catch up. Like that's what I feel is like. This dude is really ripping it. So, man, I like that. And it's where you're at right now. So I like you pull that all together. You kind of told us what makes the Bristol music scene unique compared to the other UK cities. Have you seen the scene in the UK? Have you seen it become more commercial or more creative over time?
So we're in a really, really weird situation in the UK music scene at the moment where in 1992, I was listening to Snoop Dogg. Yeah. Right. Yeah. We're now 2026. Now, if you put that back 30 years, yeah. Right. So what's 30 years minus 90? We're talking about the early 70s, late 60s.
Yeah.
Right. That music was not relevant in the 90s. So we're in a really weird situation now where our kids are listening to joints we were listening to like they're new. Right. And in the rave scene, right, my son that's 13, he's listening to jungle and he's listening to the stuff I grew up on. Whereas when I was that age, I'd like passed all of the craft, all the stuff my dad was listening to. I was onto the new shit that my dad didn't understand. Whereas my son's listening to music that I was part of creating. That I was in the scene of creating it. So the scene's really weird at the moment because the kids are just copying us.
Yeah.
The kids are copying the old guys, and they're like, my son's like, oh, this and that. It's like, I know that guy. He's like, how do you know that guy? He's like, I was doing it 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So like the commercialization of music, it hasn't really changed, because you've got the business bods that need to make money from it, and then you've got the guys that have done their sort of creative bit. They're getting to 30, they want a family. They've got to start making real money with a level head on. So the sort of commercialization of music per se doesn't really exist unless you're factory farming commercial music, like boy bands or anything like that. But just because something does well commercially doesn't mean it's commercial. It just means that the people that have written the song have done something that connects.
Yes.
So I don't necessarily look down on commercialization of music as a bad thing. I look at factory farming and PR agencies and record companies pushing and making stuff to sell to kids. The ones where they've got big teeth. The factory farming of music to sell to people that don't know any better is what I disagree with. But the commercialization of music is brilliant. I mean, it happened to disco and everybody turned on it. But what they didn't realise was Noel Rodgers was still there writing all of the hits for every single band going for the entire 80s. They're like, oh, disco's rubbish. It's like, yeah, but no, everything you're listening to, get into a groove, like David Barry, all of those, you know what I mean? Noel Rodgers was just like, yeah, whatever. So, it's just the idea of the commercialization of music and trends and things like that. They don't exist for me, man, because there's a trend is something that unintelligent people cling on to because they don't know themselves. Like I've never been into any sort of trend. I dress the way I want to dress. I do what I want to do. I dress how I want to dress because I don't care. But people care and they don't have music. So they focus on what John's got and the car John's got down there, and they follow these trends. It's like, oh, that's not trendy music anymore. It's not popular anymore. It's like, okay, well, you're missing a big thing. So yeah, the whole thing of commercial music is just it's just what happens when people that don't care about music buy it. So yeah.
Wait, let's talk scratch culture and community. What inspired you to co-found Scratch Cafe?
Do you know what it was? So I was in lockdown. I was like, right, okay, I want to learn. So I'm not going to sit around doing nothing. I want a new skill. I'm like to say, whenever something gets taken away from me, I'm like, okay, what am I going to replace it with? I'm going to scratch. So I started jumping on the Turntablist performance group on Facebook, and then I saw Dan on there, blah, blah, blah. And then we were like having a little bit of a cut. I was posting my videos from like the start, so you can go back and you can see on my TikTok, I think you can see my first ever juggle from then. It was awful, but it's up there. And I saw Dan, and then I just thought to myself, like, this DJ that we both know, Jimmy Needles, used to do a scratch jam in his house, but I could never make it because it was on a day when I had my son. And I didn't know Dan, Mr. Big Mouth, and I just messaged him and I was like, we need to do a scratch jam. Like my workshop was underneath a record shop and a club, and they had a place, and I kind of asked them if I could have the room once a month on the evening. They went, yeah. I was like, Dan, I've got all the turntables. Do you want to do a scratch jam with me? He was like, yeah. And we literally just did it because we wanted to go and just scratch with people, basically. That was it, basically. That was it.
What was the original vision behind Scratch Jam?
Yeah.
What was the original vision?
The original vision was there were two middle-aged blokes that wanted to be able to scratch for 5 hours without being interrupted by life.
Man,
and then loads of other middle-aged blokes were like, oh, if I go here, I can scratch for 5 hours, and there's other people there. So that was literally it. And then me and Dan were just like, this is amazing. And it turned out I didn't get to do much scratching because I was running a bloody event. So it kind of backfired on me. But, what it's ended up being, it is a bunch of sort of neurodivergent, socially awkward blokes that really struggle in real life. I've got a place they go every month, and they just go and just make silly noises all night. So, yeah, it's often in life, the best things are the things that happen organically and that happen from a pure vision. And there was nothing. It was just, this.
What separates a technically good DJ from a truly great one?
Now that's a perception, isn't it? Are you asking me?
Yes, it is. Yes, it
You're
is.
asking me.
Yes, I'm asking you.
A great DJ knows he's playing somebody else's music.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
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 Man, you kill me, Ollie. This is gold, bro. This is okay. Scratch Jam. What's one Scratch Jam moment that still gives you chills?
Oh. So there's a time every so often where the table is full up with the baddest scratch DJs in Bristol.
Yeah.
And they go head to head. And that happens quite consistently. In fact, so it's that there's a moment where Quest, Rogue One, Blakey, Awkward, Reva, and Dan are all on the table, and they're just going for it, and they're battling each other. That when that happens, it's like you've probably seen it. Whenever you see me post a video of would you step up to this table? That's that moment. And I'm never I don't. I like scratching, but I prefer juggling. I prefer messing with rhythm.
Yeah.
And if I was to have to choose between scratching and playing my guitar, it'd be like scratching, see you later, guitar all the way. So you know, I'm never going to be to their level because I just don't have the passion to do it. And I just sit there, just looking at them, just going for it. Just like, you know, these guys with their sharp knives. You know what I mean? Just and they're stood there being friendly, but it's like, yeah, okay, you need. It's like me when I used to turn up doing my DJ gigs. They're like, no, I'm coming to kill tonight.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
Unstoppable battle. What gap were you trying to fill when launching Unstoppable Battle?
So this is a really good story, right? So the Unstoppable, when me and Dan started the Scratch Couch, we'd be like, oh, it'd be lovely to do a battle. And we were like, yeah, we'll probably get it done. And then we were doing a podcast with a guy called Maya Lloyd. He's DJ XL. So he's the guy, and you've probably seen this, he's the one that picks up the turntable and scratches with his chin.
Oh,
have you seen that clip?
Yeah,
that's DJ XL. So we were doing a podcast with him. He's now called Hugh Wackman. On the podcast, he was like, I've had this really good idea about doing this battle, and this winner stays on, and this and that. And when we were on the podcast, I literally went, Maya, right, if you want to do it, we've got the venue, we've got the turntables, we've got the organization, let's do it. And Dan was like, but I didn't even speak to Dan. It was live on a podcast. You can watch it. It's the XL podcast on YouTube or Spotify. Scratch Calf, get over there, have a listen. XL. But so it was literally on the podcast. And then I looked over to Dan. Dan was like, yeah. And then Maya was like, yeah, okay. We didn't think he was into it. And then 2 weeks later, he was like, yeah, let's do it. So yeah. No, we weren't trying to fill a gap. It's just Maya Lloyd, he's like DJ XL, he's one of the most like beautiful, like hyper creative people I've ever met. Like that, like I've met creative. I've been around a lot of very creative, successful people, but this guy's like, his ideas are just like, it's like I like getting into people's brains, and I like trying to work out where they're going, and I'm quite good at predicting where somebody's going to go or where they're going to take things next. But Maya, no chance. I couldn't predict anything he does. And he was like, well, I'm at the stage of my career now where I've had this idea for this amount of time. It hasn't come about. He just needed to do it. There was no filling a gap. There was none of this. There was no like competing with the DMC. It was like, I've got a really good idea. Should we try it? And we were like, yeah, let's try it. And that was literally it. There was no ambition at all, no gap. It was just we can do it, so we're going to do it, and it's going to be fun. And it bloody was, yeah.
Killed it. What have you learned about competition culture through organizing battles?
I know that the guys that do it are absolute lunatics. I know they're absolute lunatics. And, you know, part of the podcast I've been doing with Dan was trying to get in the brains of these people. And they're just like, you know, like Navy SEALs or like astronauts or Formula One racing drivers. You know, those people are like 0.01 percenters.
Yes.
But battle DJs are those 0.1 percenters, but they don't get paid. They get no recognition. There's no career after it unless they work hard to get it. These guys are just obsessed with with what they do, and they need to battle. Basically, they're like, yeah, they're battle DJs are the single most interesting people I've ever come across of. Basically, there's no, they don't do it for any other reason but for passion. And I suppose that's why I'm so drawn to them, because they're so like, they're similar to me. Like they only do it because there's no aspiration.
I bet others are thinking this. How do battle DJs creatively? How do battles push DJs creatively compared to club sets?
Okay, so the best friend of creativity is restriction. So, like, RZA, all those old hip hop albums, the reason they're great is because they were working with nothing.
Yeah.
And if you take everything away from an artist and they're left with nothing, they'll be the most creative they could possibly be, because suddenly they don't have any options. They've just got to do it. So I feel that a battle set, and I'm not qualified to answer this really because I don't really battle. I'm not good enough to battle, but I'm random, so I'm going to third person answer it.
Right.
It pushes creativity because there's no other reason than you've got to beat that person, and they spend all of their time going, what can I think of that they haven't done?
Yes.
So it just breeds creativity.
Yeah,
it just does, because they're compete. Whenever you compete with somebody, you have to do what you could beat them, and then they think, okay, my skills are here. I know that guy, I know what he's like. I think if I do this with that skill, he can't test me. So it just pushes people. Club sets are like, again, club sets are normally driven to making dance floors move, which is a whole different form of creativity.
Yes, it is.
And sort of, understanding how music mixes together, and understanding how people react, knowing what sort of note changes you need to hit to bring a level up, bring it down, knowing when you've pushed them too far, and obviously knowing when to put a rubbish tune on so everybody goes to the bar to spend money, because if there's no bar or money, there's no money for the club, and there's no money for the DJ, which further pushes music away from any sort of club experience.
Yeah. What makes a battle performance unforgettable?
I'm going to go back to Hugh Wackman, Maya Lloyd, and in my opinion, the most memorable thing I've ever seen somebody do at a DMC was the least technical thing. And what I would really tell listeners to do is pause at this point and go and find DJ XL's Play It Underwater routine. And what he does, he gets money, do. So already a banger from when he did it. But what he did is he got the record and he went like that on it, and he went boom, boom, boom. But on the, I'll get the mixer.
Yeah.
So on this mixer, this is a Technics EX 1200, which is a DMC battle mixer. This mixer's got a really good quirk where if you turn the bass down and you move the treadle, it goes. It acts like a high pass filter.
Oh.
So what Maya did, right? He played bow, 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 dip the bass, did that on the records, it would go bow, 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 sounded like it was underwater, then went, now play it underwater, bow, 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 now play it underwater, and it is just wild. Yeah. And the reason why it's so good is, so I was with an ex in bed when we posted it as promotion for the podcast.
Yeah.
And I was with my ex in bed, and I've shown her loads of DMC stuff, and she's like, she just looked at it like, oh, why is that person doing loads of really silly, unrhythmic things on decks? Because she didn't understand it. She wanted the culture. Yeah. But when I showed her that, she was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And it was just a ridiculously good tune. But you could see that he was doing that to make it go ball, ball, ball. And then for the layman, they're like, oh my God, he's making it sound like he's underwater. Then he goes, now play it underwater. Goes back to it. And then you've got the guys that own one of these that saw him dip the bass and drop the treble, so it goes whoa, 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 and they're like genius. So that
Yeah.
stuff like that for me,
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
the dick swing of like doing something really complicated is amazing, and I love watching that, and I aspire to be able to do stuff like that. But if you're doing a battle routine, doing something like Maya Lloyd, Hugh Watman, then DJ XL, that is the sort that for me is the stuff that really sort of turns me on, because you can see it and you know it.
Yeah. I want to get into a little genre versatility. So you played hip hop, punk rock, techno, jungle. How do you shift your mindset between genres?
So the genre was invented to make selling music easy.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
So in all reality, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, no, you're right.
There's no such thing.
Yeah.
The rock and roll boys went, oh, how are we going to make it easy for people to buy music? Oh, supermarkets. That's when you're buying an apple, when you're buying a banana.
Yes.
Oh, I tell you what, we also need to make people feel like they're in groups and tribes, because modern society is so displaced. So I tell you what we'll do. If we create a genre, it's very easy for people to find that genre. It's very easy for people to associate with that genre, and they can stick in their punk or hip hop crowds and stay all happy. So the genre doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Does not exist. Like there's no you can't like I use these words just because to make conversation easy.
Yeah.
If you say what are you listening to today? Jungle. But if we were in a world I wanted to live in, I'd be like, I'm listening to a load of old funk breaks that are sped up and Reese bass or 808 TB 303s over the top. That's what the music is. It's not jungle. It's just something that people attach to, and it was easy to sell. So there's no, like in a day, I'll listen to Billie Holiday. I'll listen to like 300 BPM speak or techno. I'll listen to a bit of Fleetwood Mac. I'll be back listening to Robert Johnson or R.L. Burnside, and then I'll be on a bit of hip hop. Or it's just music's music. It's a sonic thing that happens that I need, and sometimes I need a certain feeling, and I pick that certain feeling. It just so happens that at that moment in time, that certain feeling was a really weird Ohio Players funk tune called The Funky Worm, basically.
Yeah. What music challenges you the most technically?
So jazz, definitely jazz. So like, not even playing it, but listening to it. Like I go to jazz, and I'm not talking about sort of old school ragtime jazz or the Ginger Baker, drumming, African based drumming jazz stuff. That's very rhythmic. I'm talking about the space jazz, the really strange stuff. That challenges me because it takes me a while to click into it. Yeah, and I'm very aware that there's people out there that are just there all the time, and I'm jealous of them because they're clever enough to be able to just sit with it. But for me to be able to enjoy jazz, I've got to really sit with it, and I've got to really get into that thing, and it takes me a while to get ready for it. So yeah, those weird crazy jazz, space jazz compositions, I struggle technically the most with, just because I don't understand it and I wouldn't know where to start with it.
Yeah, I get that. So I asked you about genres, and I'm just kind of curious. I feel like you've already told me, but do you think genre boundaries matter anymore?
I think anybody that argues with me about genre boundaries doesn't like music.
Yeah,
that's what I'd say. Yeah. If anybody started arguing with me about genres, I'd be like, well, you're probably more interested in the look that you're wearing and the people you're hanging around with more than the music. So people like to have discussions, and people. I think some people like to find it quite sexy to be able to say those sorts of things to get a reaction.
Yes,
and I think whenever anybody brings up that, they're not talking about music anymore. They're talking about how people interpret the explanation of the music.
Yes.
Yeah, so people love words, they love tags, people love being something, even with mental illness, people love a good diagnosis. Oh, I'm bipolar. I'm not saying that you're not bipolar, but what I'm saying is you were that before the explanation. There were people that had that before it got called that. So what you have exists, but it wasn't called that, and suddenly it's called that, and you like it, and you're like, I'm bipolar, blah blah blah. Anyway, so I feel like that's an argument for how we express it verbally and how we communicate verbally what it is. But where it falls down is somebody's perception of a genre, and I think that's what you're talking about. They blend over, and the reason they blend over is because music's music. I don't think the people that make these tunes are making this style of music. They make what's in their head. Somebody else goes, it's this. So the whole genre blending is a sort of argument of, oh no, this is that, no, that's this, and it's down to a perception again. So yeah, I would say that I would leave that conversation to somebody that majors in English or sort of communication problems. I don't think about that, to be fair. And if anybody asked me about that, I'd say you're probably not talking to me about music. So why not talk to Bob down there who's got an English degree?
Yeah. Hey, I want to give a big shout out to Oliver Gould for coming through and giving us real insight into the UK scene, scratch culture, and what it takes to stay creative for nearly 3 decades. Ollie, conversations like this remind us that longevity isn't luck; it's passion. We can feel your passion, Ollie. It's community. You said you weren't out trying to create; you didn't have the vision, and constantly evolving with the craft. Hey guys, if y'all rocked with this episode, make sure you guys follow Ollie's work, and embrace that music. Enjoy how I know I enjoy. And I'm gonna tell you, Ollie, I really appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of fun.
I had loads of fun, and you want to do it again? Just hit me up, man. I had so much fun talking stuff with you, man.
I will. I'm going to take you up on that.
Wicked.
Thanks a
Lovely.
lot.
Big love.